All right. Good morning, everybody. We are really excited to have you with us and our guest with CEA Kappa. Today, we're going to be talking about the Lex Fellowship, which is a program that can be done primarily abroad. I think there's also maybe a domestic component, but today we're going to be with Lindsay Molesky, who is at the Lex Fellowship in CEA Kappa, and a UCR alumna, Emmy Jacobson, to talk about this program. So, without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Lindsay to kick us off this morning.
Fantastic. Thank you, Charlie. We're so happy to be here. As Charlie mentioned, my name is Lindsay Molesky, and I'm a Senior Partner Success Manager at CA Kappa, and I'm here with one of our program alums, Emmy Jacobson. Emmy, do you mind also introducing yourself?
Yes, hi. I am an alum from UC Riverside. During my gap year, after I graduated, I thought it was be a great opportunity to join Lex, and I got the amazing opportunity to go in December of 2024 to London. Some of the best experiences of my life have made some of the best friends that I'm still in contact with today. So I'm really excited that I get to be a part of this today and talk about my experience.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's get started. Let me see if I can. Perfect. So I will start. The Lex Fellowship is our pre-law experiential immersion program designed for students who are exploring law as a potential career path, whether they're certain about it or simply curious. What makes Lex truly unique is the hands-on real-world exposure. Students visit law firms and work on actual legal cases, attend trials, or visit courthouses, and receive educational sessions and mentorship from a legal associate throughout the program. It's not just observational. Students are actively developing the critical thinking and professional skills that will set them up for success in law school and beyond. Lex programs are available both internationally and domestically. International destinations span across Europe, with domestic options also available for students who prefer to stay closer to home. Programs run during winter and summer breaks, ranging from 1 to 9 weeks. So there's a plenty of flexibility to fit different schedules. Group sizes average between 12 and 16 students, depending on the city, keeping the experience intimate and high quality. Whether a student is pre-law, undecided, or simply passionate about justice and advocacy, Lex is a fantastic way to explore what a legal career truly looks like before committing to law school. Now, why Lex? So it really comes down to four things. Exposure. Students get a real unfiltered look at the legal world to decide if law is the truly right path for them. Second, direction. By exploring a variety of practice areas, which we'll cover in just a few slides, students leave with a much clearer sense of what kind of law excites them the most. The third advantage to participating on a Lex program is application strength. Lex gives students compelling, concrete experience to speak to in law school applications and interviews. There's a big difference between saying you're interested in law and saying you've worked on real cases in Rome or in Emmy's example, London. Preparation. Legal trainings cover a range of topics from first year law school, giving students a meaningful head start before law school even begins. And here you can see a few pictures and examples of some of our programs taking place in Europe. Now we're going to cover what does the weekly schedule look like. During a typical week, students visit law firms 3 days a week, Monday through Wednesday, for approximately 2 to 3 hours each morning, followed by 2 hours of legal training in the afternoon. Thursdays, you can see here, are reserved for legal excursions, which are consistently one of the highlights of the program. These could include attending a live trial, visiting a courthouse, or exploring another legal environment beyond the firm setting. It's a great way for students to broaden their legal exposure while also getting out and experiencing their host city in a meaningful way. And then, of course, Fridays include a cultural tour of the city, and weekends are completely free for students to explore on their own, giving them the perfect balance of structured programming and personal adventure. Okay, as you can see, the range of practice areas students can be exposed to is really impressive, from corporate and commercial law to family law, intellectual property, and even emerging fields like renewable energy and private equity. For students in Europe, there's also the added bonus of observing local legal systems firsthand, something very few pre-law students get to experience at this stage. The variety, of course, is intentional. We want students to explore broadly, discover what excites them, and leave with a much clearer sense of where they want to take their legal career, and plenty of great material for their law school applications. Let's cover what is included in the Lex program. So the program fee covers a lot. Students are housed in an apartment style or student resident accommodations, receive daily breakfast, 3 group meals per week, including a farewell dinner. Each location has a dedicated city manager on site throughout the program, and they are on call 24/7 to assist with any of your needs. So students always have support if anything comes up. Local transportation to and from the planned activities, including the law firms and the cultural tours, are of course included, as well as international health insurance. One important note, airfare to and from the destination is not included, so students would need to plan and budget for their own flights, in addition to the airport transfers to and from the housing. Okay, so you're probably curious, where can you go? So Lex programs are available across 7 European destinations: Italy, Spain, France, United Kingdom, Greece, Portugal. And as I mentioned, we do have some domestic programs in the US, that being Washington, D.C. and Boston. Each location offers a unique legal environment and cultural experience. And for the most adventurous students, we also offer on the screen, you'll see on the last option, the multi-country option, where students can experience 2 different legal systems in a single program. Regarding the locations or the countries in Europe, we do have 13 cities, so there are a few options within each of those countries. Okay, the moment you've all been waiting for to hear from Emmy, and she'll give you more of kind of a deep dive on what this experience was like for her.
Yes,
Yeah.
London was insanely amazing.
Insanely amazing.
Just solo traveled to London. Exactly what was said in the schedule. It was Monday through Thursday. Friday, we got some free time, but we were visiting firms like Fenchurch and Bonnet Irade, where we were doing mock trials every day. We got a lot of firsthand experience, and just to meet people too. It was a great experience. Yeah, did mock trials. We were doing a lot of researching and drafting documents, as well as during our legal sessions. We had our advisor help us out with studying for the LSAT or how to create a good resume for when you are applying for law school. On Fridays, we did like big excursions, group excursions. We got to go to the London Eye, Big Ben. Sky Garden was great. The picture on the bottom right is me and my friends that I made out there on top of Sky Garden. A lot of different museums. We went to the oldest solicitor's library, which was a great experience. Dorm style, we stayed in Dalston at the Kingston Hotel. It was perfect, right next to the subway or the tube station. And it was really great to experience the tube as well. And they set us up with Oyster cards and always made all of us very comfortable with being in a new situation. This is my first time traveling to Europe, and it made it very easy. Groceries were delivered to our door almost every single day. You put down, I'm vegan myself, so I was like, uh-oh, like what if I can't eat a lot of things, or everywhere that we're going, they're not going to accommodate that. They were very accommodating. Made sure that I was well fed and everything was great. We had group dinners or group lunches depending on the activities we had that day. But it was just a great experience overall. Lots of pictures. And it was something that I can put on my resume. I'm now a first year at Thomas Jefferson Law School in San Diego. I also have an internship set up for this summer working for Strauss Myers, a litigation defense attorneys. So it was just great. And this was my only experience that I did really have on my resume before signing up for law school and thankfully getting in. But it was definitely something, great memories, something you can always talk about with everyone. And it's a good conversation starter for sure. But yeah, overall, it was just a great experience. I still talk to my friends that I made down there to this day. And overall, I would choose Lex again, again and again and again. It was a great, great experience.
Thank you so much, Emmy.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
if you don't mind, if I like ask you some questions, how long was your program?
It was a little bit over a week. I think it was 10 days. Yeah, 10 days. We went in the winter during the winter session. So, they made it easy for if you are in school to go back and do school while doing this.
Perfect. And what made you choose Lex? How did you hear about it? Kind of share that kind of process.
During my gap year in 2024, I was like looking online at some study abroad programs that I could be a part of. I came across Lex and I loved that they were doing London specifically, but just studying abroad. I wanted to add something to my resume during my gap year before I started. And it's really hard to get an internship when you're not in law school already. And I was like, this is a great experience. Get out of my comfort zone. I've never done anything like that before. And I'm so thankful I chose Lex. It was easy finding airfare, and everything was just set up perfectly.
Fantastic. And do you mind sharing, because that's so interesting that it was your gap year. What was kind of like your group dynamic? How many in your group? Were they all different years in undergrad? Yeah, do you mind kind of sharing?
Yes, I was actually one of the only people during my gap year. A lot of people were still in undergrad. There was also another UCR alum there during his gap year. So I was like, oh, no way, you're from UCR. But there was about 13 of us, 14 of us. Um, Great experience. There were some people that were older. One even like got out of the military and still joined and was able to join, come to London, and yeah. But the majority was they were still in undergrad.
Perfect. Thank you. And I'm sure some students are probably wondering, like, what was the application process like? And yeah, how was that experience for you going through the application into enrollment?
Yeah, it was great. I applied on the website. I had a couple interviews with Rachel. She was great, just asked me questions, making sure that, you really want this law school experience. They're giving it to students that really see a future in law. And yeah, a couple interviews, super easy. And then they just send you all the information that you need to fill out. Pretty self-explanatory. Filled out all the information. They accept you. Go on flights, see, time round trip flights, or if you're adventurous, maybe one way, and stay in Europe a little bit longer after the program. But yeah, super easy. They just email you everything, and it's set up pretty great.
And yeah, I think that's a really great point to share with everyone is that with the Lex Fellowship, our applications are on a rolling basis. So there's not necessarily a deadline. So as Emmy's, for example, her program, as it filled up, it likely closed on the website, her session, and then other ones were opened. So you'll always find a location in a session. It's just the sooner you get that, reserve that spot. If you have any kind of preferences, definitely we encourage folks to do it earlier rather than later. But there will always be, an option on our website. It's just they open and close. So if you check now and then you check in September, you might see different options. But great, Emmy, that you took advantage of the winter sessions. Yeah.
Yeah, also, I was like, oh, solo traveling, going to Europe for the first time. I like that the winter session was a little bit shorter than the summer sessions, and if I was gonna do it again, I would definitely do a summer session somewhere longer. But it was a great experience for sure.
Yeah, and regarding duration and length during specifically the summer, because it's mid-May to August, the average length is around 3 weeks. But Emmy's example of if you don't have that much time to go abroad or participate on the program, there are kind of the as short as 1 week, and then if you want to like kind of add programs and stack them, that's also available. That's why we say there's a 9 week because you could potentially stack 3 weeks, three-week programs. But yeah, there's just so much flexibility. There are big cities like a Rome and a London and a Paris, and then smaller cities like a Valencia and a Genoa. So in different budgets. So we like to have that variety for the students, which they're able to talk to folks on the admissions team, like Emmy did with Rachel, and kind of like see what's the best fit. Okay, I think those were, thank you for allowing me to interview you, Emmy.
No, thank
Um,
you. Thank you.
yeah, and I think that was, yeah, I just had the Q&A. So if anyone else out there has any questions for us, happy to answer them. Or Charlie, if there was anything you think we didn't cover that we should go over, yeah, happy to.
Yeah, I'll just ask if I'm finding out about this program and I'm trying to decide what timeline is best for me. Should it be a maybe a shorter, like a week or 10-day visit versus maybe a 3-week visit? Can you sort of share what the difference would be between being on a smaller trip versus a lengthier trip and what might you get to do at a smaller trip and what maybe the benefit would be to be able to be on a longer trip?
And I'll, Emmy, I'll go first, just kind of from like, the administrative kind of view, but you made this decision, so I'd love to hear your perspective as well. And this is a great question. I think having, again, based on the students' availability and schedule, how long do they have for this program? But with a longer program, you are going to see, for example, if you went on our average 3-week program, you would see up to 9 different law firms. So with those three a week, you would just have so much more time with lawyers and visits to law firms and more exposure. In addition, every Friday there's the cultural tour, so you'll have more opportunities to see more in that country. Um, and I don't know if Emmy experienced this. It's 7 days to 10 days is quite a quick turnaround. So getting over jet lag, kind of getting into like a routine. Sometimes the shorter programs you feel like you're getting in a routine and then you're heading back home. Again, it's amazing. So if the smaller program or the shorter program is better for you, of course, it's still amazing, but that is, something to consider. But Emmy, yeah, happy to pass it to you and kind of get your sense for what you think about that question.
Yes. Again, like it was a great program if you do have a limited amount of time. I feel like we were doing everything. We were every single day getting it done because it was a smaller session. So yes, jet lag comes in, and I'm from California, so during the day in California, we were getting ready for bed in London. But I think the adrenaline is really got me through that through a quick turnaround time. But no, it was great. We every single day was packed filled with stuff to do. We went to two law firms in the like 10-day period. Still doing a lot every single day, 9 to 5. And then you also just got that time like on Fridays to go out and do your excursions with your group and get to know everyone. After being on the trip too and having such a great time, I'm like, oh, I wish there was another week or another 2 weeks to, keep looking at amazing sites of London and maybe visit some more law firms. But that 10 days was well spent with everything that the advisors and the group leaders had planned for us.
That's great. Perfect. Anything else?
I believe LA put a few questions in the chat. One of them was, what is the selection process? I think that was the first one.
Yeah. So it's filling out the application and then essentially being in college or gap year and being older than 18 is basically kind of the enrollment process. And then, as like I said, as Emmy mentioned, you will meet with an admissions representative and they will go through the program options with you and then send you kind of the options and the offering for what you were interested in. And then once you put down a deposit, then you have a spot in one of the programs.
Great.
Sorry, Charlie, I can't see the
Perfect.
questions. If there are any more that I missed.
Yes, yes. I think there's a question on typical cost. So could you just talk a little bit about what the cost is and how that might be funded?
Yes, so great question. So the cost is going to range. As Emmy mentioned, she went on the 7 to kind of 10 day, which was shorter. She also went to London, which is kind of, one of our kind of high value locations. But as I mentioned, we do have those other kind of smaller cities, which are more budget friendly. So they offer students different options regarding budget. But I would say anywhere from 3,000 to $10,000. Of course, if you're going on a 9 week program, then that's something entirely different. Currently, the winter and summer programs are not for credit unless you are able to arrange kind of internship credit on your end on the home institution side. Now that we've partnered or are under the umbrella of CA Kappa, they are starting to offer semester long programs for Lex, which is very exciting. And so, Emmy, I think this is new for you too, since you participated. So starting next fall, there is an opportunity to go to London or Madrid, which is where we have a CA Kappa study center. So you would do some law firm visits. You'd also take a course and meet at the CA Kappa Study Center. So that's also an opportunity for that piece, which would be more tied to, I believe, financial aid opportunities because of the length and the more credit that is offered. But yeah.
And then the last question that was asked, which I think you had covered this sort of in the beginning, how do students find the program? So starting off through the website, and I know offices such as ours talk a little bit about the programs. But is there any way that students that maybe I know Emmy had shared that this was her first time abroad? And so how might students pick if they've never been out of the country? Is there a key piece of advice on maybe how to select a program that's right for them?
So the best part about, and you know, Emmy mentioned it as like an interview. It's with our admissions reps, they are alum of the program, most of them. So they're able to kind of share with them their experience and also guide them to, they ask really poignant questions of, what are you looking for? What do you want to get out of this? Where would you feel most comfortable? If you haven't traveled abroad, then maybe a smaller city would make you feel more comfortable. So it's really that first meeting with our team that students can ask any question they want and yeah, it's I think that's really super helpful. Emmy, I don't know if you have anything more to add to that because I don't know if that Rachel was necessarily an alum, but yeah.
Yeah, for me, again, since it was my first time going abroad and this was, an all new experience for me, I personally wanted to go somewhere where everyone spoke English, just to, have that to rely on, even though I would fully trust the advisors. And if we were to go to a place like Madrid or in Rome or wherever it may be, that they do speak a different language. But I think that was the main thing for me. So when I was like, oh, London, perfect. It's a great way to experience new culture, but also have something to fall back on that if anything were to happen, I'm like, okay, I know they know English, I know English. Um, but yeah, I remember during my application process, I put down a few locations. It was just in case if the sessions did get filled up, then you can put down your second option and your third option that you would also be open to. Thankfully for me, that I was pretty quick with it, got into London and went from there. But that was something that I was looking at. Now being in Europe and having that experience, I would feel now a little bit more comfortable picking a different location, whether it be Rome or Italy or Portugal or wherever that be.
And you raised such a good point about language. So, if a student selects a non-English speaking country like Spain, like Greece or France, so when we are working with our partner law firms to set up our visits, the lawyers that present to our groups are always going to speak English. And so that is a key part of it, very important that you do not need to know the local language when you are selecting a country and a destination. Now, the unique part of that when you go into the legal excursion, if you're, at a live trial, it will likely be in the host language. And then, as Emmy mentioned, the benefit of having a city manager who's local to that country, who speaks the language, and potentially now the legal associate might also be from the host country, then they're able to kind of debrief during those mentoring sessions and the training sessions in the afternoon of, this is what was going on, and but still just even observing, a live trial and such, even if it's in a different language, is just it's so valuable and there's so many takeaways. But yes, definitely the law firm visits will of course be in English. So that's a really good point that will be covered during that initial meeting with our admissions team. Really good point. Okay.
This is great.
Fantastic questions. Yes.
Any other questions or any final words, anything that it's important to point out as a student might be considering this as an option for them to have some type of exploration and experience in a legal related setting?
I might put Emmy on the spot again. Emmy, during applying to law school, how did you use your experience? I always love to hear alums share kind of that of, yeah, how did you use your experience or talk about it?
Definitely went on the resume right away. Put a few bullets of, what we were doing, making sure I'm putting on there. We're doing a lot of mock trials, a lot of legal drafting, research, getting to work one-on-one with actual lawyers that are doing this every single day. Just to, and for that being the main other, I was a pre-law major at UC Riverside, but using the Lex Fellowship as my main internship and experience that I've had to put on my resume. And it's just different. It's different. How many people can say that they traveled abroad and got to work in different firms and with lawyers every single day? Our legal associate was a third year in Harvard. So to get her insight every single day, it was like you had these people on hand to answer any questions that you could ever have about the legal field. And I think that it really boosted my resume to where now, I am in law school and I have this new internship opportunity coming this summer. So that was great to put down on the resume for sure.
That's wonderful. And I think to your point, it's just standing out, right? Standing out in the crowd and being memorable. Yeah, that's so wonderful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
We have a question about housing. How does housing work?
Emmy, do you mind sharing well, let me preface this to say it will of course, depend on the city, depend on the program length. So because Emmys was on the shorter, was the 7 to 10 day range. Um, that kind of falls into a different category. And then if you're there for a couple weeks, a lot of the time you can be in an apartment or a student residence. So those are kind of two of the housing accommodations that are typically arranged. But again, it depends if you're in a Rome, what the setup is compared to a Valencia. But yeah, Emmy, I believe you had shared if you were in, I don't know if it was like a regular hotel or kind of maybe like a longer stay. Yeah, if you don't mind sharing what it was for your 10-day program.
Yes, it was like a regular hotel. And what I
Mhm.
loved the most about it was that they picked an area where there was corner stores and restaurants all around us. Because you do get that time after 5 o'clock to the rest of the night to do, to do as you please every single day. But they put two people per room. I lucked out. We had an odd amount of people, so I actually ended up getting my own hotel room, which was great. Great way to start off the trip. But yeah, right from the airport, they give you, all the information. I ended up meeting up with someone in the airport and we took a taxi together to the Kingston Hotel in Dalston and dropped off our luggage. We are a little bit early for our check-in time, so we just dropped off our luggage and we explored for a few hours before 3 p.m. for our check-in time. But it was super easy. They set it all up for you, give you directions on where to go. And something about this hotel too that I loved, it was so nice, so quiet. That was my favorite part for sure. Just the ambiance of everything. It was a nice hotel, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is really nice." So also having a place to go home to at the end of long days that you just felt comfortable in. They had washer and dryers down at the bottom level, basement level of the hotel, which I loved. So we were all doing laundry every single day. But it was very walkable. The borough market was right down the street. So I really loved that they picked a place that was just around everything. So even if you didn't want to get on the tube that night to go get dinner with your friends that you've made, you can just go right outside. And there was a bunch of restaurants and corner stores, and it definitely made it easy.
And I think for the, 2 week or longer programs, the reason we would have the students stay in more of like a student residence or an apartment style home or accommodations is because we make sure that there's kind of like a common area, there's a shared kitchen. Because as Emmy mentioned, having to potentially, if you're on a 2 or 3 week program, having to go out and eat at a restaurant every night is going to cost a lot. So we also have the grocery delivery if you're not at the hotel, if you're at the apartment. So our city manager will deliver groceries so that the students are able to prepare breakfast in their shared kitchen. And for those longer programs, 2, 3, 6 weeks, the students really kind of start to feel like, well, I live here. And especially if you live in an apartment, you really kind of get the feel of what it's like to be a local and you're prepping your own meals and the city managers giving you a tour on your first day around the neighborhood that you're in to point out the ATM and the local market. So you really kind of do feel like, wow, this is what it would like, to live abroad and also potentially be a lawyer. So yeah, so it's great.
Yeah, I think the residential experience is almost an equal part of it. Visiting the law firms and having that experience is why you're initially going over, but I think also having that living, learning experience also makes it equally powerful as well. It's great. Any other questions? Talked about cost, we've talked about program selection, we've talked about housing. Um, Emmy, did you mention this experience on your application to law school?
Yes, I did. And it's the first thing that I have on my resume. And wholeheartedly believe and know that it carried me into, choosing a law school and having law schools admit me. Um, but yes, I definitely used it to my own abilities to get accepted.
It's great. I know a lot of our students are looking for opportunities on the pre-health side. There are plenty and many. For pre-law, students are always thinking about, how to allow their resume to stand out. And so sometimes that's being in a club or organization along with working at a law firm, which we've found is possible, but also challenging at the same time because I know a lot of law firms like to hire um, current law students. And so, with something like this that sounds very exclusively for undergraduate students or students that are looking to have this type of experience to wrap up their undergraduate career or to jazz up their undergraduate career, this sounds like something that could be a viable option. Sort of wondering, Lindsay, and maybe I'm going too far down the pike here, but do you have students that go, let's say, what Emmy did, that they might go for a shorter trip and then come back and do a second trip, and that might be longer? Does that ever happen? Is that possible?
Yes, it is definitely possible. We actually have an alum on again, this is on the Atlanta side, so the pre-health side. She's on our admissions team, and I'll probably invite her, Charlie, to our Atlantis info session with UCR. She's done two programs. So yes, we've had students, especially to Emmy's point, if you went as an undergrad and then you do take a gap year, then you see the value in the program and you might want to say, okay, I'm comfortable. I want to take a longer program or I want to go to a different location. So 100% that is possible and students have done it.
I
Great.
also wanted to add something really quick. Um, I feel like the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. After I came back home, after my fellowship was over, I stayed in contact with all the lawyers that I met at the firms and had informational interviews with them. Staying in contact, I think, is one of the most important things to do. I emailed all of them when I got back into the States and had an interview with them, talked to them again, make sure that they, remembered who I was from the mock trials that we were doing. And it's also something you can put down on your resume as well, that you've, held all these informational interviews with international solicitors as well.
And
Great.
that's such
Get
a
a
good
lot out
point.
of
And
it.
one of, the other reasons of why Lex and I think, building your network and understanding the importance of who you know and like you said, Emmy, hoping they remember your face and what you brought to the program is so, so important. And just being proactive, yeah, it's just you'll get more out of it for sure. So that's a great example.
So we have a question that came in the chat. What was it like learning with law firms, such as drafting documents or doing mock trials, if some students may not have a lot of experience in this area?
Yeah, so for me, I did English and pre-law at UC Riverside. So I was already doing all my classes in undergrad were a lot of case briefs, talking with lawyers, or doing assignments and finals that you would see in law school. But there was a lot of people on the program that were new starting out to it. What I loved was that when it did come to mock trials and things like that, you were separated into groups. So it kind of took the pressure off a little bit, that you have your peers to lean on a little bit if you didn't know everything when it comes to it. But I think that's what's so great about this program is you get the experience before you start law school. Because once you go into law school, it's go, go, go. And you're expected to know everything right away at an early stage in starting the semester or quarter or wherever you end up going. But I think that this was just like that like trial runs with it. I remember our first law firm that we went to, Fenchurch, which was so fantastic. They just gave us a case and was like, all right, each team, the prosecutors, the defense, you guys have 4 or 5 hours, come up with your arguments, your defense, and then we're gonna join back in and we're all gonna talk about it. And I think just that Lex kind of just throws you into it is the best way to really learn, even if you didn't know much about drafting or research or anything like that.
Okay. So let's say I missed today's session. What's the next step in reaching Lindsay or Emmy? How can I follow up with you to learn more about the Lex Fellowship?
Yeah, so I would be happy to follow up with a link to the Lex Fellowship website, to also the CA Kappa website, which is housing those semester long options. I'm happy to share my information for any, conversations, and happy to share the slides as well, of course.
Okay. Last question. Are there any financial aid for cost? So one of our attendees is just kind of wondering, how does the financial aid work for this program? Is that possible? Um, can you just share a little bit about financial aid?
Yes. So if you are enrolling into the not for credit, the Lex Fellowship, not for credit, Lex, unfortunately, they won't have financial aid necessarily, but we do offer limited number of need-based partial scholarships. So there's more of a scholarship kind of avenue for you based on needs based. Again, that initial admissions conversation, they will share all of that with you. Now, I think there are more options regarding traditional financial aid, regarding minimum number of credits if you take the semester long option, kind of just based on the needs and the requirements for that. And of course, we would have someone also share information about that as well.
Right. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you,
Of
Emmy.
course.
Really great
So
session. Again, this is the Lex Fellowship with CEA Kappa, and we will post today's session on our YouTube channel for the Pre-Professional Advising Center. We have a session coming up for our pre-health students, and that again is going to be led by Lindsay. And that, I believe, is coming up on Friday, April 17th, and we'll do that from 10 to 11 a.m. Pacific time. So if you're interested in health professions, please join us on April 17th. Other than that, thank you all for joining, and we look forward to working with you moving forward.
Thank you so much for having us. This was wonderful sharing more about the Lex Fellowship. And as I mentioned, I will follow up with more additional information if you have any more questions.